Hi, my name is Ellen Reeder, and I chose to do my 10 hours of community service through the Service Learning Project at the Good Shepherd Mission in Huntsville, Texas. I did 3 different trips. One trip was 4 hours, the second trip was 4 hours, and the last trip was 2 hours to equal my 10 hours that were required. While I went to the Good Shepherd Mission, I had a great time. It was a really good experience, and after each trip I documented my experiences in a journal, but I decided to present those journal articles that I did through video. So while I was at the Good Shepherd Mission, I mostly worked with organizing the food pantry and then sometimes also serving food. The Good Shepherd Mission is basically a shelter for homeless people, whether that's men, women, or families. They have separate facilities for men, separate facilities for women, and a separate facility for a family. So I was able to interact with men, women, and children throughout this experience. I did the 10 hours of service learning in an environment that I did not know because I thought that the Good Shepherd Mission could show me some experience about working with people who do not have a lot of money and who are in a different socioeconomic status than a lot of people in our area. And I was also able to work with children, which will really help me in my own classroom. While I was at the Good Shepherd Mission, I made a lot of connections between what I've learned in my ELE 352 class at SFA with the Good Shepherd Mission. I noticed a lot of stereotypes that I had built up against homeless people, homeless men, homeless women, and homeless families were actually not true. I learned that the stereotypes that I have had can be true, and some of them were, but that not to immediately go in and judge all of the people for why they're there. A lot of the people that I worked with actually are not into drugs, haven't ruined their lives through being an alcoholic, but rather they just got stuck in a hard time in their life, or they were an Army vet and they came back home and they did not know what to do with themselves. One of the men that I worked with, he used to actually be in the Army. He was in Iraq for a while, and then he came back and he literally just could not function in normal society, and so the people that he works with and lives with at the Good Shepherd Mission really help him and understand him rather than people in normal society. And so it really was a huge family that I got to know and that I got to work with, and it was really great. I worked under the food manager. His name was Kyle Fisher, and he's a really, really nice guy. He serves lunch, he cooks lunch every day, and he's the head of the food pantry. And so it was a really great experience getting to know him. And he's actually who signed my paper for the Service Learning Project. I learned a lot about the history of the Good Shepherd Mission. The owner of it, his name is Dave, and he started it because he just wanted to help people get off the streets. The food pantry is huge. They pass out bags of food every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to whoever needs them. They pass them out through a window, but they also serve lunch and dinner every day, a hot meal for whoever wants it. You don't even have to be homeless. Anybody can go in there and eat the lunch. So this was similar to some of the previous service learning activities that I've done. I've done service learning activities in Indianapolis, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee, Galveston, Texas, working with the homeless. But this was especially different because it was working with people within a community. I have family in Huntsville, and so I was working within the community of my own town. It was different in that way, is that I didn't have to leave to go help others. I was helping the people right in my own town. As I reflect on the past and current service experiences, I have made many connections between the different kinds of people and the different areas and the different socioeconomic statuses of people, like we've talked about in class. Indianapolis was a lot more rough, in my opinion. Galveston, we dealt with a lot of hurricane victims after Hurricane Ike, and those people and the people in Indianapolis were so different because a lot of the people I worked with in Indianapolis, they were in the shelters or due to drug use. But the people at the Good Shepherd Mission, a lot of them had just gone through a hard time, even though some of them had past issues with drugs. And then in Galveston, when I worked there, it was a lot of hurricane relief, and so it was a lot of families. And it was also really different because I got to work with children. There's not many homeless shelters out there that are open to men, women, and children. And so I got to work with children, specifically Hispanic children. I got to talk to them a little bit in Spanish, or the Spanish that I do know, and I was able to communicate with them and understand what they were going through. there's actually like 4 school-age kids who the bus drops them off every day, and so I got to talk to them one day about how it's different living there rather than their own house or apartment, but they actually really liked it. They were saying that it's like a community of people. The purpose of the Good Shepherd mission is to not hold people there, for a long period of time, like an apartment complex. They know they don't charge leases or anything, but the whole point was to help get them back on their feet, and so that was a really good experience to see. These experiences will affect my teaching greatly. Like I said, I was able to work with children, which really gave me an insight and understanding of children who are homeless or children who have parents who are just struggling, literally just struggling and going through a hard time, but also working with children who have parents who are not involved and who do abuse drugs and alcohol. I got to see 3 different instances where I worked with children in that way, and these will help me with my curriculum and lesson planning, because I will be able to modify lesson plans if I need to, but also make personal connections with them through curriculum and my lesson planning. Teaching and therapy methods, I can use what I learned at the Good Shepherd mission to help me with students who are of socioeconomic statuses that are lower than the rest of the class, but I can also work with the children who don't know these experiences and let them know that that their peers and that the other students in the class are exactly like them. Their parents might just be going through a hard time. And I also made a lot of connections. I definitely plan on going back to the Good Shepherd mission to working with Kyle and Dave and some of the other people who work at the food pantry. I really enjoyed it, and it was great. My understanding of students, colleagues, and parents definitely has drastically changed. The stereotypes that were there before, stereotypes such as all homeless people are on drugs, or all families who have homeless children just must not care about their children. Those are 2 main stereotypes that were just completely washed away whenever I worked at the Good Shepherd mission. Basically what I did at the mission was I would go into the food pantry. Kyle would tell me where I needed to work at, and I would organize cans of food, I would organize their bread, or I would bag up the bags of food that they pass out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. One day I did get to work in the kitchen more, where I helped him cook the lunch, and then we served it to people at the mission, and that was a really good experience because I got to just talk to them one-on-one. But a lot of the greatest moments were when I was just sitting down talking to the people, and I really just got to know them. Overall, this experience will definitely impact my teaching career, and also will just impact all my personal relationships and connections that I have with anybody. Rather than stereotyping them, I've understood that I need to get to know the person and not the situation, and that is something that I can definitely use in my classroom, outside of my classroom, with parents, with teachers, and with my students. So, thank you for watching.